Hi, this is Doug and Brad from the Darksliders podcast.
Hey everyone.
So, kind of a slowdown news after all the big conventions and everything. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about games we've played and such over the past few weeks, and then we're going to hit a bunch of the small little news stuff and maybe cover some of the news we hadn't talked about that's been happening over the past month. So just to get right into games we played, I didn't play a whole lot of games this week. So let's start off with Brad. Brad, you played a game that I actually just bought recently. I haven't had a chance to play yet, called Binary Domain. So what little I know of Binary Domain is that not a lot of people bought it, and it was kind of like a
Very few people bought it. Like no one. I actually looked. It was 20,000 copies in the US in its first 4 months,
oh,
which is like
ouch.
real bad.
Yeah, and for what I could tell, like, and honestly, I'd heard it was pretty good, but it's still like every way, shape, and form just looks like a cover-based shooter to me, and I was like, okay, what? So what is Binary Domain? Why are people saying it's good, and why is it not just another third-person shooter? I guess during that time.
So it is very much a third person shooter. I think you could pretty much sum up this game by saying it is Japanese Gears of War. It plays very similar to Gears of War. It has the like little huddled run thing.
Hmm.
You get downed and your squad mates can come and revive you. It's you get your four weapons. It's very, very similar mechanically to Gears of War, which I personally like. I love Gears of War. I haven't played a Gears of War style game in a really long time, so it's kind of nice to play this.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is an older game. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago at this point. But it was a PS Plus game a while back, so I've had it sitting here forever, and I don't really have too much else to play right now. So I figured, well, I've heard good things. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
This is a it's a good game. I really did enjoy it. It's not a flawless game by any means. It's a for sure like going back and looking at this. It's good for what it is. When it came out, I could definitely see people going, I'm not gonna bother with that. But
So
as it's kind of like a cheap pickup, a game to just kind of play over the summer, it is a lot of fun.
so like what is it?
Okay, so basically it's old Sega, or it's a Sega game done by the Yakuza team,
Uh-huh.
who
That's
does
why.
all the Yakuza games, obviously, yeah.
That's why I picked it
But
up recently. That was like literally I had no idea what this game was. And I knew what it was and I was like, okay. And then someone's like, "Oh, it's that game that the Yakuza devs made." I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what?" And then I bought it in like immediately.
yeah, so basically the way this game works is it's set in 2080 after the entire world has been flooded, and on top of all of the flooded cities they built new cities.
Okay.
And to build these new cities, they had to build hundreds and thousands of robots to be able to help build these because they couldn't build them fast enough for people to move there.
Hmm.
And basically, what happens is all the world's governments come together and develop the New Geneva Convention.
Okay.
And you find out in it's one of the opening scenes that part of the New Geneva Convention is Clause 21, which says you cannot make a robot that looks humanoid in
Okay.
any manner. So, like, you can't put, like, skin over top of it, make it look like a human.
Okay.
One of the opening scenes, one of these things mysteriously appears in New York. And you are the squad of people who are called the Rust Crew, who have to go in and deal with anybody who's violating Clause 21.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool. It's a really cool sci-fi robot story.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically, the main character Dan and your partner, you go to Japan to go and try and figure out because you think it's this Japanese robotic corporation called Amada who is making these what are called hollow children, is what they call them, the robots that have skin over
Oh
top
my
of them.
God, that is
It's so
that's such a
cool.
cool name. What?
But anyway, so you go there, and as you're going through there, you of course have to meet up with like all the rest of the international teams. So you meet your like British ex MI6 agent, your People's Republican Army from China sniper girl, and there's all these people who kind of come together to form this Rust crew to take out this guy to stop him from making these robot-like humans.
Okay. I don't want to ask any more about the story. Actually, one thing I do want to ask about the story because it's by the Yakuza devs, and the Yakuza games are like entirely story. Well, not entirely story. There's like a lot of story in them. Is the story good? Like, are there? Is it a good story? I mean, compared. I mean, Gears of War. I don't know if that was a good story, but like, It kind of just sounds like, from what you described, doesn't sounds a little bit more than a mindless shooter. Like,
Yeah, it's totally more than a mindless shooter. There's a lot of story with this, and that's actually I think the game's strong point. Um, there's some really good towards the end, just with the way these hollow children work and some of the different intricacies behind them that I don't really want to say much more about. Towards
okay,
the end, there's some really good twists with it, and it plays very similar to a Metal Gear Solid game where you've got like 3 minutes of shooting, 2 minutes of cutscenes,
oh,
3 minutes of shooting. So I mean, there is a whole very heavy story aspect in this,
mm,
but it works really, really well. The game is fun to play. It's got some RPG ish, like RPG light mechanics in terms of
love that stuff.
customizing your character. You pick nano machines, and you get like a it's a 3x2 rectangle, and each nano machine takes a different size. So you kind of plug them in there as you go to kind of up your specs a little bit as you go through.
Oh, is it kind of like a
Um,
puzzle? Is it kind of like the? That sounds like the RE4 suitcase thing, where you sort of like organize your suitcase and you can like move stuff around. Can you change the? Not can you not change the shape of stuff, but like depending on how you organize it, can you fit more abilities in?
yeah, so you get one that's like two horizontal and one down, so it's like three that are kind of taking up a corner. You got a couple that are just one dots, a couple that are two across, two vertical, things like that. So you kind of have to pick and choose which ones fit in there to maximize what you want for your character.
Oh,
And
that's
you can
kind of cool.
spec out each one of your characters. So I think by the end of the game, there's 6 squad mates, but you can normally only have 2 or 3 with you. And
Yeah.
each one is kind of specced out to be. You've got there's a girl with a shotgun, a guy with a submachine gun, the sniper girl, all this different stuff in there.
Is that noticeable or no? On the other, I mean, on you, I
Like what
assume it's like a little bit, but on the other characters, does it actually matter?
I didn't really notice it all now.
Okay.
It was kind of like you're doing all the work, and every now and then you see somebody else shooting at somebody. So
hmm
they also had some kind of interesting squad mechanics with that too, because like depending on how you're interacting with them, because they'll give you like questioning prompts throughout the game, and depending on your answer, you can like really piss them off, or you can make them happy with you. And if you piss them off when you give like squad commands, they won't listen quite as well.
Is it like the option they give you? Is it like clearly this will piss him off and this won't piss them off?
99% of the time, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's like, man, wouldn't it be great if these robots weren't shooting at us? And you can be like, yeah, that would be great. Or, hell no, I love when robots shoot at us. So they're like, it's always like two very distinct options. So you always kind of know, but it's kind of fun to mess around with. And they also will stop listening to your commands if you shoot at them at all.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
accidentally like shoot one of them, it'll just have like this red arrow above their head, and they'll like slowly, if you keep doing it, like stop listening to you.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. There is a lot of really cool with this game. It's just one of those things where it is what it is. You
Mhm.
can spice it up as much as you want, but in the end, it's just a cover based shooter.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I,
But it has some really, really good elements in it.
mhm.
It has boss fights like crazy.
Ooh.
Most of the game is you walk into an area and a giant thing shows up, and you have to figure out how to shoot the giant thing.
Is it like interesting that like the ways you have to take these guys down, or is it like pretty straightforward? There's a weak spot.
A lot of it's weak spot. There's a couple like different things. There's one early on where it's a giant spider, so you can either shoot the weak spot and it still chases you, or you can shoot out the legs to slow it down and then shoot out the weak spot. But a lot of it comes down to just shoot the weak point.
Okay. It's still fun though, I imagine.
Oh yeah, this game is a ton of fun. It is a very by the books type of game, but it has a lot of unique stuff to it.
Okay. Yeah, I think just like
But
a
yeah,
Gears of
if
War
you,
by Yakuza guys sounds like crazy. Is it wacky at all? Because the Yakuza games are super wacky, or is it do it pretty straight faced?
it's it's pretty straightforward. You've got like a couple comic relief characters in there, and there's those moments where it's like, oh, Japanese weird stuff going on. You know, the typical kind of
Mm.
Japanese, just kind of oddball type things. There's a few of those things in there, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward.
So overall,
Overall, you can find this game for like $5 now, and if you find it for $5, you should totally buy it and play it. I think it's one of those games that, looking back at reviews, this is not the type of game that's gonna get a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. But it's just
Mhm.
one of those games to go back and check out and just play for the story. There's an online mode that I didn't even touch, and looking at reviews, a lot of people said it was just complete garbage. So I didn't touch it at all. But the
Hmm.
single player is just fantastic. I think It's one of those games that for a long time, when games were just tacking on multiplayer, I feel like a lot of reviewers just
Oh,
started knocking games down because like, oh, there's a multiplayer, it sucks. 7 out of 10.
yeah. Okay, I can I guess I can kind of understand. That's sort of the thing you did back in the day with reviews. I think they sort of stopped doing that. They tacked on multiplayer though with a lot of games.
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, there's a couple that still do it, but I think a lot of them have kind of just gone, you know what? Nobody's going to break into the Halo Call of Duty market, so we might as well not even try.
Yeah, which I think it's actually worked out for the better. But
Yeah. But definitely pick this up. If you have any interest in science fiction, crazy stories at all, this is a fantastic one.
cool. All right. Moving on to the game I kind of played. So last week,
Your makeup review here.
yeah, my makeup review. Yeah. So I guess last week, I had sort of reviewed. Actually, review is not the right word. I played half of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and gave my impressions of half of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. And actually, as I was uploading the review, I was like, I should probably just finish this game. I think I'm near the end. We'll see what happens. And in my review, I said I was near the end. Turns out that's not the case at all. I was like maybe halfway through. And the yeah.
Nothing like lying to people.
Well, I didn't know. I thought I was. I thought I was near the end. I just wasn't. So I decided to actually like sit down and finish it. And I will say that the part I stopped in is the worst part of that game. Like by far. It's not good. It's the part I stopped at, you're like a wide open field and it just takes forever to get to the next spot. Anyway, during my review, I guess I sounded kind of down on it. And I kind of want to clear up some misconceptions. I actually really, really like this game. I just don't think that everybody will. So when I'm talking about the game and I'm going, I don't know, as I'm having a hard time recommending it. I personally thought it was amazing. I just don't think a lot of people will find it as amazing as I did. Brad, you actually did. You actually got a chance to play a little bit of this. So, how did you feel? Because it's a hard game to describe. Like, how did you feel about just the fact that that was like you played, I guess, in about a half hour of it, and I told you like this is the
Yeah, I think it was
game.
around a half hour. Based on just that half hour, I'm curious. I had a couple huge complaints with it, and just the speed this game goes at, I do not have the patience for.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, if they came out a month from now and said, "Hey, we patched it and your walk speed's doubled," I'd probably go buy it right away. Because
Yeah.
just the first half hour, the way the story's set up, it hooked me into it and got me curious.
Hmm.
But I just wish that it played out slightly faster. And I understand the slow pacing, I think, helps the story along and helps you get more involved in the story, and because you're trying to figure this out and it's about kind of investigating it on your own.
Yeah.
But it's just there's no faster option, and just when you're walking through a building, I feel like I could like crawl in real life faster than this dude is walking.
Yeah. And that never really goes away. I will say though with the pacing, at the very least, the story does actually like really pick up because I think when you play like in the beginning, like you sort of just get introduced to the characters, you sort of get introduced to um the issues that are going around town, and that's what I talked about in my review. But near the end is when sort of the panic kind of sets in, and you get farther along. When you get farther, the story's kind of disjointed, told out of order. But as you go farther in the game, you actually do get farther in time. And near the end, I'd say like the last half, when the town is actually starting to panic, and the story really, really, really picks up. And there's some really, truly like amazing, amazing scenes. And I would say the last two chapters are probably the best part of the game by far. It's again, it's so hard to talk about. I just wanted to basically clear up and say, I actually really did like this game, and the story absolutely it does pay off. The characters pay off. The character stories become more interesting, and all have very very good endings, which I was kind of surprised. I thought with so many characters, it would be kind of hard to wrap up everybody's like individual story, but I think it all wraps up really well. And one thing I forgot to mention is the music is really 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 good. It's almost entirely church choirs, which is not something I'd normally hear in a game. Usually, when I mean church choirs, I mean not in the like church choirs like where like like when they do church choirs in games, it's usually just to show a boss and like make them sound epic. I was like I haven't
Yeah.
I've been hooked on Bloodborne again, so I've been playing that lately. It's not like that, but it's actually like church music, which is really really crazy. and like you'll be walking around and suddenly there'll be like this swell of like a very large choir singing, and at first you're not even sure like if you what you're hearing is like people outside, like I don't know if you're hearing somebody in the street or something, but you realize like, oh no, this is coming through the headphones, and they kind of like slowly push into the choirs, into the music and stuff. They do them at like really interesting points. I don't know. I think this game is I think this game is incredible. I guess will come to the same conclusion I did with the first part review. I think that if you like the idea of walking around it and just enjoying a well told story, you're gonna have a good time. And if that's not what you think video games are or should be, or those games don't sort of interest you, that don't even bother. But this was definitely, I think, one of those game changing games where they did something really different, but for the first time they got a huge budget in order to do it and tell the story like they wanted to tell. And I don't want to say this is like one of the best games you can get for PS4, but it's definitely one of the most unique, and I think that's worth enough for a purchase.
From the little bit I played, I guess just in my mind, I kind of agree with you because after playing it for a half hour, I have no clue how I feel about this game at all. Most games, I feel like after a half hour, an hour, I generally have a good feeling of I'm going to enjoy this or this is terrible and I want it to go away.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, after a half hour, I was like, man, maybe I should keep going. Maybe I don't know if I should. I think you're perfect in saying that this is a game that you really like, but is hard to recommend. I feel like I would really have to know someone in order to recommend this game to them.
Yeah, and that's kind of why my review sounded sort of negative last time, was not because I didn't enjoy it, but just because I don't think that some people would enjoy this game, and not enough to give it like a wholehearted recommendation that
Yeah.
everybody should play it. So
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, so switching gears, and by like switching gears, like I don't know,
Complete 180.
yeah, basically like misshifting in a car. Brad played a different game that is not. Brad played Killer is Dead, which is a Suda 51 game. Brad,
Oh, yes, it is.
Brad, why don't you just take it? I actually did play this game, so I guess we can actually have a sort of bit of a back and forth conversation. I played this game about a year ago, and I literally do not remember like anything about it. Uh,
Which,
yeah,
having just played this, is totally understandable. So Doug mentioned this is a Suda
yeah.
51 game. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's No More Heroes, Shadows of the Damned, Killer 7. Those are kind of his big ones that came out in
Mhm.
America, at least. But basically, if you know what those games are, you know what this game is.
Yeah.
It is an action game with a story that makes little to no sense, some really cool boss fights, and a ton of style that you're like, I have no clue what the hell's going on at any point.
And does it also have like a huge heaping like pile of jank? Because he's
Yep, that too, yeah. It is not a very fluid action game at all.
no, that's what I do remember. I just remember it was like I really wanted to enjoy this game, and it is like a legit action game. Like that was the idea they were going for. But as a straight action game, it's probably one of the worst action games I've ever played.
I will completely agree with that. This is an action game that doesn't even have a lock on button.
You know, I swear it must. Maybe it doesn't, but yeah, I. God dang that game. This game sucks, but is how I feel about this game.
I wouldn't even go that far. I'd say this game is entertaining, and that's about what I would
Well, that's what I
say.
meant. It's like this game sucks, but here's some cool things about this game.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even with Binary Domain. The cool thing with that was the story, and I couldn't even begin to tell you the story other than the fact that you are this guy in a suit with a robot arm and a
Mm-hmm.
sword, and you work for this other guy who's got a robot arm and a robot leg, and he hires you to go kill people, quote unquote, that are oftentimes just really random monsters, but they don't ever really explain what the monsters are other than that they're from the moon.
Yeah, I remember like going into the finale of this game and having like zero idea what the hell was going on. Like I had like I knew that I guess King David. Oh yeah, there's like a lot of weird like random biblical references in this. Like the main bad guy is called King David, who
Yep.
I don't remember what the big reveal is, but he's like the third boss and he's also the final boss. And there's some big reveal, and I remember like the character acts like this is a huge revelation, and I just remember like watching. I was like, what? I don't know what's going on. maybe this is a big deal. Something about King David.
I mean, it was kind of a big deal because I know what reveal you're talking about. It does come in the very last episode,
Mhm.
and it's a big deal. But at the same time, you're going like, I don't know how that changes the story at all. Like, oh man, that's a thing. Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't. It didn't change anything. It didn't do anything. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of those games that I really, really want to like, just
Mm.
because I love Shadows of the Dam, love Killer 7. No More Heroes is okay. It wasn't my favorite one out of those, but just I don't know. Like I wanted to love this game, and I think I enjoyed it. But I think part of that goes with this game. Part of that goes with this game is super short, so I feel like it's one of those things where if I had spent more time with it, I probably would have been a lot more sick of it than I was. But this, I think my final time on the end screen was like 5 hours and 50 minutes.
Are you serious? I didn't realize it was that short.
Yeah, it's real short. So I don't know. I liked it. I have a hard time getting into games that don't have a really solid story. And maybe this does, and maybe I just couldn't find it.
Yeah,
But from what I
I think the
played,
thing that
it's
makes the
not
story.
there.
Oh, sorry. I think the thing that makes the story really, really confusing is that every hit is like a separate short story that
Yes.
vaguely relates to the main plot, kind of. And sometimes the short stories are. I just remember. I don't remember what it's about, but I just remember you fight a boss who has these gigantic headphones. You cut off his arms and then cut off his head, and then the conclusion is the person who wanted you to do the hit was actually a bird.
Yep.
Um, and that was supposed to make sense somehow. I don't know. This game was weird. It's hard to even describe. It looks cool. I think it looks cool. I think the story. If you just like weird shit, you're gonna like it. There's a really really uncomfortable mini game though.
Yeah, that minigame is weird. That minigame is real weird.
Yeah. So how that mini game works? It's called Gigolo mode. I think is that
Yes,
it?
I believe it. Yeah, I think so. I know you have Gigolo Vision.
You have Gigolo vision, and basically the idea is you go on a date with women, and then you stare at them. No, you stare at when they're looking away. You stare at their bra and panties, and then if they catch you looking, then they get mad at you. But if they don't catch you looking, they fall in love with you, and then you get a new weapon out of it. and the
Yeah, I did not understand that aspect at all. And I think I did like half of one of those. I'm like, this is a bit too weird for me. We'll go back to just slicing up random monstery things.
yeah, I tried playing a little bit. I think I got like one or two weapons, but I don't know. I I got uncomfortable playing it. I was like, I can't. I don't feel good playing this game.
Yeah, yep. Or at least those parts. But like you said, this game has so much style and it looks really, really cool. It's got a cool art style.
Hmm.
It is interesting to say the least. It's confusing, but it's interesting. There was never a moment where I was like,
Yeah,
oh, cutscene, I just skip this. It was always kind of like, oh, cutscene, okay, I'll watch this for a minute. Okay, that seems cool, I guess.
yeah. It's just a whole bucket of confusing in so many ways, shapes, and forms. And honestly, if it just had a really really good gameplay, I think this game would have been a lot better. Because I think I could have handled all the craziness and all the weird storylines and everything else if they just had good gameplay to back it up, and that just doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. This is a very simple action game. This is by no means like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. It's very much just that watered down as far as you can go.
Yeah, not very good. But it's I think this would be like a great like if you saw it on the shelf for like $3 though, like grab it just because it's just weird. I think it's a good game to have in a collection. I don't think it's a good game, but I think it's just one of those super weird, unique games that's just like if you like to collect games, this would probably be a good one to just throw in your collection just so you have it.
Yeah, and again, like you said, if you like weird stuff, this is that to a T. This is like the quintessential style for a weird Japanese game.
Hmm. So after a kind of weird set of games we've been playing this week, we're gonna move on to not. This isn't really news. This has just sort of been in the news, I guess. Video game movies are making a comeback, and I don't know if a comeback's
Not in a good way.
yeah, yeah, and they're not. They're kind of being they're doing what video game movies do in that they're terrible. Uh,
Yeah, very much so.
So the two game movies that have come out recently are Hitman and Pixels. And neither of us seen Hitman. I don't think either of us was planning to, but Brad actually
Nope.
bought a ticket to Pixels. So-
Yes, I did. I was really bored on a weekday afternoon when I didn't have to work and said, you know what? For $6, I can go see that movie.
Was it even worth $6? Because I remember
Oh,
I was trying to talk.
hell no.
Okay, I tried to talk with you about this movie, and like you had like nothing to say about
I literally just sat there and after like an hour, I was like, well, I'm getting my $6 worth.
it. Could you have walked out and been okay?
No, because that bothers me.
Did you consider walking out?
I didn't consider it just because I can't do that. I've never done that. I don't think I could.
Okay.
So I didn't. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's just weird that there's such a push for these, and I don't understand the point of video game movies. Pixels is a bit different than Hitman for me, though, because Pixels was trying to tell a story that's centered around video games,
Okay.
as opposed to recreating a video game, which is what Hitman's obviously trying to do.
Yeah, Pixels try to do sort of like it looks like like a crappier version of what's that movie? Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it tried to do. It totally just tried to play on all that nostalgia, and the way they do it just doesn't work at all. So I mean, there is video game references like crazy. Most of them are like the obvious ones. So there's like Space Invaders, Centipede, Cubert,
hmm
all those things. The only part where it got kind of cool, and this was more just from a sitting in a movie theater going like, "Ooh, okay, I can try and pick stuff out," is at the end when there's this big invasion scene.
hmm
It's literally every character you can imagine from the 80s.
Oh, wait, what do you mean? Like who else? I
Like,
guess.
oh god, like literally name a old arcade machine and it showed up.
Okay,
I
was
mean,
there
I'm
like
not
joust
overly
ostriches or something?
what?
Was it like joust ostriches or something? Or
Yep, there were Joust guys on there. Yep.
there's Frogger
Um,
guys, I imagine.
yep, Frogger, Paperboy. Uh,
Oh, that's kind of cool. See,
yeah,
dang it.
but that was like a 5 minute scene in the entire movie.
Is the movie like where if I could find, I don't know, if there was like a hypothetical version of the movie where it's just the arcade like video, like the I guess like the visual effects, would it be like a good movie to see? Because the visual effects looked really cool.
No, because you still have to deal with the rest of it. It's that bad.
So it's not even worth it for the visual effects.
No, so yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know about you, but like I've never understood the point of this
Video
at
game
all. Like the
movies?
idea of remaking a good story in a different medium just for the hell of it. I don't understand.
I would say I cannot think of a single video game movie that had a good story to begin with, like video game wise. Maybe Silent Hill. Besides that, like every other one didn't have like great moving stories.
But having not played a lot of Silent Hills, this is probably not. I'm not the person to be saying this, but in my mind, Silent Hill is all based on the tension of you doing something, and you completely lose that aspect and just sitting there watching it happen on a screen.
Yeah, that's true. I think like yeah, it's kind of like taking away the interactive part of a video game. Is like it's not even that property anymore. Like because I think like gameplay mechanics are so tied into whatever property it is. Like Mario jumps, like that's what he does. But
Yeah,
when you are no longer making Mario jump, like what is Mario? I guess unless he's like an RPG or kart racing or whatever else he's doing. But but yeah, I just I feel like a lot of these properties are like so tied to the actual gameplay aspects, and like every movie, like you just have to take those away because it becomes just the visual aspect of it and the story aspect. And while visuals I think are pretty strong, I think we talked a little about the Silent Hill movie before that it had a really really strong art direction. The story doesn't really translate, and these stories take like 10 hours to tell. I mean, they're not even great
yeah, and
stories,
you
but
try and condense it to an hour and a half. That's
yeah,
not going to go over well.
yeah, it's either gonna be too complicated or you have to cut off too much stuff to the point where it's like, oh, this stuff just doesn't make sense because you're trying to connect so many points and so many characters, so many. Da, 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 da.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually,
I don't know.
are you excited? I'm excited though for Ratchet and Clank.
I'm not
Why?
because it's a video game movie.
Yeah, but
Name me one legitimately good video game movie.
well, name me one video game movie that is like written by the guys who made the video game.
Fair point, but I mean, Ratchet and Clank could be good just based off that fact and the fact that it's not like Ratchet and Clank is this complicated story you need to buy into by any
Yeah,
means.
that's true.
It's like you need to go find what is it like your home planet or something.
Oh, that's the PS3 ones. Actually, this one you are trying to stop an evil corporation from taking parts of planets to put them together to make a mega planet. It's not a good story, but
But I mean, it's simple, and I think that would lend itself well to it.
mhm. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny because like you thought I thought with like Wreck-It Ralph it's like, oh, people get video games because I thought Wreck-It Ralph was all right. I wasn't like a huge fan of it, but I thought it was like a good representation of video games. It had some pretty clever and like good Easter egg stuff that you really did have to look for, and it wasn't
Yeah,
as obvious as what Pixels kind of sounds like. And I kind of thought that was like, it's these guys get it. And then I thought from then on we're gonna have good video game movies, and that's
it's not gonna happen.
You don't think there's ever going to be a good video game movie? I mean, we have the Uncharted movie coming. We have the Shadow of Colossus movie coming. We have
Last of Us still happening?
Last of Us is definitely happening. Um, Last of Us movie's ridiculous. That's the worst one, I think.
That's terrible. That one hurt me when they announced it.
That is going to be just an average movie, not because I'm of the opinion Last of Us is kind of an average story told really really well.
Did you finish The Last of Us?
I did. I like the ending. I'll say the ending was super
Okay.
cool.
I was just checking,
No, I like the ending of
I know
it.
you don't. Well, but see, but you don't care about that game to begin with,
No,
and you're wrong.
no, no, no. Okay, to be fair, The Road is a better Last of Us movie than The Last of Us movie will be.
The Road is a boring movie.
Oh, then maybe you would like a Last of Us movie, wouldn't you? No, I just think that The Last of Us, it just pulls a lot from movies already, and it has a huge uphill battle to climb in order to be better than those movies. Like it can't just be a good zombie movie because like you have to beat it has to be better than Walking Dead.
Yep.
It has to be, although it doesn't have to be as good as The Road. Not enough people saw The Road.
Yeah, because it sucked.
It didn't. Oh my.
But here's my issue. Like, here's my issue with The Last of Us. I don't want to see that as a movie. I like that as a video game. I like the fact that that story takes a while to get going.
Hmm.
You really buy into the characters. I don't think you can do that as well in 2.5 hours. And I think it's the difference between video games as a medium and movies as a medium. They're very different lengths. They go in different details in terms of character development. They're paced differently.
Hmm.
And I think trying to force a story that works really well as a video game into a movie time frame just doesn't work.
Well, how would you like a Last of Us like miniseries?
See, and again, that I might be okay with. Like if HBO came out and said, okay, we're going to do a 10-hour Last of Us miniseries, that would work better to me than a movie because it fits the time frame. You can tell that same story at a similar pace.
Hmm.
If you're thinking like the high notes in the Last of Us story, there's a good 7 or 8 key moments in that video game.
Yeah.
To fit 7 or 8 key moments into a 2-hour movie, that's one every like 12 minutes,
Yeah.
give or take, depending on how off I was with my math.
Yeah, no, I can understand. I just, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. The thing I kind of wish somebody would do is like if you're gonna do a video game movie, you don't necessarily have to tell. It depends what kind of world you have, but I would say like a good video game movie would be one that doesn't necessarily about that video game story, but in that world. Like Last of Us. Isn't there like a side character in The Last of Us that you read about? What the hell's that guy? He's got a really really
Oh,
weird
I
name.
think so. Yeah,
But
yeah.
something like set in the Last of Us universe that's not necessarily the Last of Us. So you don't have something to directly compare it with, like, oh, the video game was better because the story was just so much better in this. But if he's like, well, if you told a different story in that universe, then you don't have
Oh,
something.
I think that would be awesome. I mean, because then you could go. If you look at the Last of Us already, you have Last of Us comic books. Or if you look at Halo, you've got the Halo games, you've got the Halo books, you've got Halo.
TV
Was it
shows.
like a miniseries
Yeah,
TV show? Yeah,
yeah.
which I didn't watch any of that, so I can't speak to that quality. But
Apparently, it's bad.
yeah, so maybe that doesn't even work out either. Who knows?
Hmm.
I don't know. I just think it's something that doesn't need to happen, and I think it's just like ooh, this is kind of a marketing way to get more people to buy our game, or this is a way that we can make more money off of it. I don't know. It doesn't. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it all just comes down to it was an investment that somebody made, and well, you basically have all of your pre-production done because you don't have to come up with a new
Yeah,
universe.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, you have all this concept art and stuff sitting around. So it feels like more of a way to save money than to do anything like profound.
yeah.
And as we say, its Resident Evil movies are still really fun. So who knows?
I freaking love the Resident Evil
But they're not
movies.
Resident Evil movies. Like they're not.
No, they're not. They're not at all. But they took the general idea and did their own thing with it, which is totally fine with me.
Hmm.
that the Resident Evil movies are characters with vaguely similar characterization, to be generous, in
Yeah.
a vaguely similar world using similar concepts.
Yeah, but I think Resident Evil is just schlocky enough that you can get away with that. But like
Oh yeah.
if they try to pull like Joel is actually a I don't know what they could do to fuck it up, but I'm sure they're gonna find something.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like Ellie is actually his daughter or something. So video game movies are still not good. You would think I don't know. You would think they'd get better after a while, but they're still not good, and maybe they still won't be good in the future. But I'm hoping things like Ratchet and Clank and Wreck It Ralph or somebody where they actually seem to give a shit. then,
Maybe that would help.
yeah. All right. So moving on to news. This is kind of be like a hodgepodge of news of well, I guess this is all sort of new stuff. As soon as I say that, we're starting out the old stuff first.
This is the only thing that's old. Everything else is new.
Yeah, that's true. So one of the things we did not talk about recently that everybody seems to be liking to talk about is the Konami. Konami is being kind of a jackass.
The just pile of just it's a shithole. That's
It's
being polite.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's not. It's Konami decided they actually need to make money. Okay. So what Konami has done, Konami has basically stopped making video games. They said a bazillion times. They've said many times over that they're done making video games, but they're not done using those properties.
Oh hell no.
No, so Konami has pretty much switched over to almost entirely a gambling company. They make pachinko machines. Pachinko, I played in Yakuza. It's a very, very complicated betting game with lots of like little silver balls, and I don't understand it. But people in Japan seem to love these things, and actually a lot of like Japanese arcade culture is like kind of getting destroyed because of these stupid machines. So what Konami's doing is they're basically making these betting machines, and they're basing them off their famous franchises, including Castlevania, which features erotic violence, and they are going to be retelling Silent Hill 2, I believe, in pachinko format, which is clearly the best way to retell Silent Hill 2.
Better than the movie.
No, no, it's not. The movie's okay. Better than the second one, probably. So besides making a bunch of pachinko machines, which I guess neither of us really have a lot of. Do you have any comment on that? I don't really.
I no, it's just one of those things where I am a huge Castlevania fan, and seeing that go that way is just like, oh god, you could have just
yeah.
pretended this never existed, and I would have been much happier. In fact, like when that actually happened, I actually forgot about this. You sent me that link to like the trailer for it, and he just wrote, "Holy crap, new Castlevania." ... and sent me the link. And of course, I was busy at the time. I don't remember. I didn't watch the trailer. I just went, "Oh yes, this is so awesome! I'm so excited! I'm so excited! So excited!" Like 2 hours later, I came back and watched the trailer. I was like, "I hate you so much." So there I was for like 2 hours, like, "Yes, they're new Castlevania, something cool," and it was that.
Yeah, the interval worked way better than I meant it to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brad remembers Castlevania, and Konami is asking. Konami set out the weirdest. I don't know what is a survey.
Yeah.
I've ever seen, and it's basically like a survey written by I don't know. You know what I was thinking? I was just thinking of somebody like going through their closet trying to look for stuff to sell, like at a garage sale.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I forgot about this. I wonder if people still remember this. I could probably get 50 cents off this thing.
It's it's that. Do I donate it or do I sell it game you play before a garage sale?
Yeah. But by donate, they mean throw away and never use.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what they did, they sent out a survey that basically said it didn't ask what your favorite franchise was. It didn't ask what are you most excited for. It just asked what do you recognize.
Yeah.
And it was every single franchise Konami owned, not MGS or Silent Hill.
Oh yeah, because everybody recognizes those, and we don't want to bring those up after the Kojima fun.
Oh no! Oh, you think that's why? I think they don't want to bring it up because they already have many different ways they're going to use and abuse both of those things.
Well, I mean, you knew that was going to happen regardless. Those are their two big ones. But I just went with like I think the Metal Gear Solid 5 pulling his name off the box, Silent Hill's getting canceled. I think that's all too fresh for them to even remind people that they're the people behind that nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading a little bit about this. I kind of understand where Konami's coming from a business standpoint because apparently they're making like insane amount of money now
Oh, I'm sure.
from these stupid pachinko machines. So I don't know. I don't own a business. If my business was tanking and about to go under, I might decide to become a company that makes gambling machines.
It's just weird. It's just one of those things where it's like I wouldn't mind if they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna switch over to gambling, but like taking the shell of these formerly great franchises down with them.
Yeah, I guess in like the perfect world, people instead of just selling off the franchises because they're not going to do that. That's completely unrealistic that they because it's basically all they have to hold on to right now.
Yeah,
If they just paid people like if people paid them like licensing fees to make games for like
that would be
to make us
fantastic. I'd be all
like
about
that,
that.
yeah, so they can still make their stupid pachinko machines. But if there's somebody really passionate and really wants to make a Silent Hill game, or really wants to make Castlevania, or really wants to make Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Masters. There's some weird games in that list.
There was some,
I
yeah,
will admit there were some in there I didn't recognize.
there were a good chunk. There were a lot more than a few that I didn't recognize.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they pulled out like literally every franchise that they've ever done. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the state of Konami. We're never gonna see another big game from them. But
We have one final one.
yeah, moving on to our next news. Yeah, so I guess if you're never gonna make games again, you might as well make like the best game ever made.
Apparently,
Apparently. So I think everybody's kind of seen the reviews from Metal Gear Solid 5. Turns out it's really, really good. But that's not what we want to talk
who would
about.
have thought?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, I was kind of surprised. I was
Really?
surprised this game was. Yeah, I was surprised the game was. I wasn't surprised the game was good. I was surprised the game was amazing.
I guess
I'm
that's true.
because there's I don't know just because of the whole like fallout with like Kojima and whatever, especially during crunch time. I
Yeah.
was kind of like this could really go one way or the other. So the game ends up being good, but we're going to talk a little bit from what we've read anyway. This is all from this is all not necessarily hearsay, but just like listening, like reading people's comments and things like that. So Metal Gear Solid 5, the review camp. So what the review camp was basically, from what I understand, it was like a 3-day period in which basically anybody who's reviewed this game went to this review camp, or at least who has a review out now,
Yeah.
went to this review camp. And what it was, Konami sat down people and gave them 50 hours to play through the game.
Over 3 days.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was 3 or 4 days. I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly what it was. Yeah. So they were given 3 days to play the game. They had in that time they basically as far as they got was what that's how they had to base the review on was as far as they got for those 50 hours.
Yep.
If they're going to do this pre-release review. So basically there's been a lot of question is okay, they had this review camp, are these scores really reflective of what MGS5 is? Does this mean that there's some sort of are the reviews compromised because of this? Are is this game really not as good as people are saying because of this review camp thing? So I have kind of a single sentence opinion of this, but what do you think about this?
I it's one of those things that just seems shady to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't
Well,
necessarily know. I don't necessarily have an opinion one way of it or another. I think it's one of those things that just needs to be disclosed, like up front. Like, hey, look, here's where this review is coming from. It may not be, exactly the final score, or maybe we'll talk about this. A lot of people didn't even bother to finish getting to the game in that amount of time. So it's like
yeah,
you're giving this game a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, and you didn't even play the whole thing. And with
yeah,
that, there were no microtransactions were in this version of the game, and those will be in the final version.
yeah,
So you're leaving
yeah.
out part of the game that ultimately would eventually get review scores to get knocked down. Nobody's ever gone, ooh, microtransactions, let's bump this up a peg. So I don't know. It's shady.
Yeah, oh yeah, the other kind of part of this news, like what Brad was saying with the no microtransactions. So they were not shown Metal Gear Online, and they were also not shown. There's a sort of weird online based mechanic where people can attack your base. Actual players can attack your base, similar to something like Dark Souls, where they can invade your base and you have to defend it. And they were shown this not as part of the games they were playing, but it's like this separate as a separate system. They were basically shown like a demo of this that was like 3 hours long or something, and then they were supposed to like kind of give their opinion on it. So it wasn't. It's like they're playing their own game, and then they play this separate thing that's not exactly how you would even play that in the game. And there was microtransactions in that, but they didn't actually see the microtransactions because Konami didn't show them. With that said, I think that the 9 and 10s are still justified for a few reasons. Because the 50-hour time limit and they didn't even get to finish the game shows like this is the absolute worst way to play this game. Like was to rush through this game as fast as they could in 50 hours and do as much as they could was
Yeah,
the worst way to play this game. And it still got a 9 out of 10. Like to me, playing that game, like rushing through that game sounds freaking terrible.
agreed.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if you're forced to rush through any game, like you're like, I don't enjoy doing that. I don't think a lot of people enjoy doing that. But the people who are forced to do this still enjoyed the game and still believed it should get a 9 out of 10. Now they also said this game should get a 9 out of 10, and they also didn't see like two other parts of it. So they're saying just this campaign with nothing else added to it is still a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10.
yeah, and it's not like 50 hours is a chunk of time. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's not like, oh, we played the first 4 hours. Those first 4 hours are a beast. This is gonna be a 10 out of 10. 50
yeah,
hours. There are not many games I've sunk more than 50 hours into. You know what I mean? There's a good dozen or
yeah.
so, but there are not many games I play for 50 hours. So 50 hours to me sounds like a not for a game like this, probably not enough to get the full experience, but enough that I could trust your opinion on this.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. It's sort of like those like things like how do you like review an MMO? I don't think I mean the game's 50 hours. Like how long are Metal Gear Solid games normally? Not that long. Like 20 hours maybe?
Yeah, I would have guessed like 25 ish. I think they got longer as they went on. But
Yeah, and this game's like at least two to three times as long as like a normal Metal Gear Solid game. So it's like a Metal Gear Solid game with the best Metal Gear Solid gameplay ever, and it's two to three times as big. But and it also has this extra stuff that hasn't been seen yet. So I I think it's okay. Like you know how we were talking about earlier, like if you have that tacked on multiplayer, does it actually make the game crappier or not?
yeah, and I agree with that. And I believe Metal Gear Online doesn't even come out until October anyway, right?
Yeah, something like that. That's kind of weird. I don't think they got to play Metal Gear Online. Like I don't know how that's going to work out. That might even be like a separate thing entirely. But yeah, I'm kind of the opinion like, does this extra stuff would that lower the review score if the campaign is that good?
Well, and the fact is, the only part I care about is the campaign. So if that part would have lowered the game score anyway, that to me is binary domains issue. Like I said,
Hmm.
binary domain to me, campaign, I think easily could have pulled eights and nines, but you tack on a weird multiplayer, you tack on that stuff, and people get kind of a bad taste in their mouth. So you're reviewing parts of the game that, personally, I'm never going to touch anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a bit I mean I'm not gonna say it's not a bit weird, and it's clear that like the microtransactions are gonna have huge backlash, and I'm gonna bet once those microtransactions come out for whatever they are, I'm sure they're not gonna be good,
Oh
and
no,
I'm
of course not.
sure,
They never are.
eh, yeah, no, they never, no, they really aren't, and I'm sure that there's gonna be a lot of like modified review scores of it,
Yep.
but I again like I don't care. It's like if the main story has microtransactions, we're gonna run into some big problems.
Yep. Again, as long as it's just it's all about the part that you want to play for this game. For me, it's just the campaign. That's
Mhm.
all I want. I don't want anything more. I just want a good Metal Gear campaign.
Yeah.
All that being said, awesome reviews, slightly shady circumstances. Day one.
Are you gonna day one it?
No, are you? That was a question.
Oh, you're asking me. Oh, that was like a giant question. No, I actually I was thinking about it, and then I guess we might as well talk about this news now. So then Yakuza 5 was announced with the pre-order. And I really sat down and thought, I was like, okay, do I want to spend $60 on Metal Gear Solid 5 or $35 right now on Yakuza? I immediately went with Yakuza.
But when does Yakuza even come out? Does it even have a
I don't
date?
know. I don't know.
So
I
that's
did
not
it on
even
an impulse.
$35 that you're spending for right now. That's $35 of future money.
Yeah, but future might. Oh, I assume future money's coming soon. Oh, I don't even know. Who knows? Who knows when that game's coming out? But yeah, I guess that's the other news. This actually is on our thing. We were going to talk about this last, but we might as well talk about it now since I brought it up. So Yakuza 5, we got a few more details on Yakuza 5 recently, which fits right in nice with our binary domain stuff. These guys are just really good developers. Anyway, so Yakuza 5 English release. The news today was that it'll be launching for $40, which I think is an okay price. And you get 15% off with the pre-order, which I think was around $34 for me when all was said and done. So I think the $40 price tag is kind of justified. I know people are kind of uncomfortable saying it like, oh, it's $40 for a last gen game. Why would I spend it? The Yakuza games have an ungodly amount of text in them, So I have to
Yeah.
imagine that this was just a huge endeavor to translate all this stuff. Um, so that means like you have to translate not only just like the main story, but every single side story, every single stupid mini game this game has. This game has like 20 or 30 mini games, like very extensive mini games. They're not even like they're almost entirely different games if you really want to get into them. Um, so anyway, so this Yakuza 5, the English release, already being $40, 15% off, will also include all the DLC. So all the DLC includes I, every main character gets a there's an additional side story that involves all of the main characters and you in the game. There's also a mini game that's like Crazy Taxi, and then just in addition with the game in general, the other thing they added is that you can play Virtual Fighter 2 in its entirety, and it has online play.
Jeez. Yeah, I'd say that's $40 worth of stuff.
Yeah, and like that's not the only arcade game. They also have an arcade game called Taiko Drum Master, which is like a rhythm game, but it's like the actual game. So you get like I don't know, like 4 or 5 games worth of content with this thing, and it's $40.
It doesn't sound too bad to me at all.
No, and I've heard this game is almost better than Yakuza. I honestly was trying to think like at the in December we're going to have to do our game of the years, and I was thinking if we're going to do our game of the years, we have to talk about only games we've played. And I was thinking Bloodborne, that's going to be my game of the year easily, but Yakuza 5's coming, and
God.
it has a really good shot.
If it comes out this year, you don't even know when it's coming out.
It's coming out this year. It might come out this year. Who knows when it's coming out? I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. They have like pre-order stuff. Shit. I really hope it. I assume it's got to be coming out. I don't know.
2017.
Okay, it's not gonna be like that. It's coming out in like the next. It's coming out. It's coming out like the next 3 months, maybe.
Fingers
Anyway,
crossed.
yeah. And if you want more Yakuza games brought over, go buy this so you can get Yakuza Zero as well. This is gonna be a hard sell to people who don't know what Yakuza is. I was hoping that PS Plus like introduced Yakuza to enough people that maybe this will be profitable enough that they'll actually bring over the other Yakuza games. I don't think that's gonna happen though.
Yeah, but then how many people actually play all those PS Plus games? I have Yakuza 4 and I've never touched it.
Well, I imagine people at PS3s.
I have a PS3 and I didn't touch
Well,
it.
PS3 only. That's
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I also have an ungodly large backlog of games too, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, yeah. I liked what they did with that. Like they introduced it to me, introduced me to the Yakuza series. Also, kind of a minor news thing: the Yakuza devs at TGS they are going to announce a new series or a new something. So it's either going to be a new Yakuza game or they're going to be doing a whole new.
Or a new binary domain.
It could be a new binary domain. It actually could be. Who knows?
There is room for a sequel at the end of that.
Is it really?
Not explicitly, but you could easily do it.
Okay.
It'd be a very different game if they followed the path, but it's there.
Yeah. It's probably not going to be that.
It's not, but it would be fun.
Yeah. This is a weird one. Brian, you're going to have to explain this one because I don't have a Wii U and I don't really follow Wii U news. So this Fatal Frame shenanigans.
So another Japanese game that's coming over here, Fatal Frame subtitle that I don't remember, didn't write down. So Fatal Frame subtitle is getting a digital only release, which some people are irritated by just because digital only nobody's ever really super happy about.
Yeah.
But it's coming in October, which this was announced a while ago, and it's finally got a date because Nintendo doesn't announce release dates until like a month before because it's Nintendo. But one of the cool things about this that I really like, and I really wish more people would do this, the game is what they're calling free to start. So what that means is when you go on your Wii U, you can download the game and play the prologue, chapters 1 and 2 for free. And then at that point, it'll just give you a prompt like, hey, do you want to keep going? It's, I don't remember the price. I don't think it was a full 60. I think it might have been 40. Do you want to pay the $40 to keep going?
I mean that's kind of cool, but that's not. I think they gave it a weird name, but I've seen that. I mean, like Walking Dead is like that. I mean, most small game, a lot of small games are like that, especially
episodic games are.
Yeah.
Like Walking Dead. Like what non-episodic game is like that?
Oh god! As soon as you put me on the spot,
of course
I've played Unfinished Swan is like that.
Yeah, because the demo is the first level. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of smaller indie. I thought Journey did Journey have a demo?
No,
Probably
Journey
not.
didn't have a demo.
No, there's a few games. There's a few games I've played. I think Nintendo's trying to make this up as like, but even if you think about like classic demos, a lot of classic demos are the intro to a game. Like all the Final Fantasy demos are usually the opening of the game. I think it's kind of cool that it's really easy now. I just don't think this is wholly unique, but I think it's kind of cool that Nintendo is like putting a pretty big game out to do this. This isn't just like a small game. This is like it's like a full release game, and they're doing that.
But I think with Fatal Frame, it's not a hugely recognizable series outside of like a small crowd.
Mm.
So I think you're going to get a lot of buys off this for people who just start playing it and get invested into the story and go, okay, well, I need to keep going at this point. Because a game like Yoshi's Woolly World that's coming out makes no sense to this. You know exactly what you're getting. Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah,
Fatal Frame, I don't even know when the last Fatal Frame was released in the US. I feel like it's been lots of years.
been a long time. I was just actually trying to think.
I'm
It's been a
thinking
long time.
PS2, maybe.
Hmm.
But I mean,
Uh, yeah, I don't know Fatal Frame enough to answer that. But anyway,
but yeah, so I mean, I feel like you were saying with Yakuza, it would make sense. Like if you did this with Yakuza and you let people get a start with it, and you get
yeah,
invested in that story, you just want to keep going. I don't know. I think it's a really good way for these smaller, traditionally, kind of niche games to get a chance to really expose themselves to lots of people in a way that's more meaningful than a demo of just like, okay, here's a splice of something cool from the game.
yeah. I think like in a perfect world, it'd actually be kind of cool if like every game did this. Like
And
every
that's what I'm
game.
thinking. Yeah.
Oh, you know who else? Actually, no. I know you know who did do this is the Metro devs. Metro, they this is
Oh
totally
yeah, they
the
just did that
Metro
like
games.
last like 6 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get like 3 hours or something to play. I forgot how long you have to play the game, but you can get pretty far in the game. Although, I guess we never really talked about that, so I can mention that. I actually did download those and start playing those. There is a huge piece of text on it that says something like preview version the entire time you play.
Oh, like a watermark.
Yeah, like that's exactly what it is. It's a gigantic watermark that says like it doesn't say buy now, but like even during like really intense cutscenes, it just says like preview mode or whatever demo mode or
Oh,
something like that. And
that's
it's super.
obnoxious.
Yeah, that made me like not want the game.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool. I like seeing weird games get released. It's kind of my same thing with Killer is Dead. It's just a weird game. I like that. Not something that's
Hmm.
huge. And I think it's kind of a cool way to introduce people to different games that may not be interested in them.
Yeah, I think that devs are getting a lot more creative with how they do that, with how they kind of market their games now because you can like start servicing like niche audiences really well. I mean, they did this with Yakuza. Like they showed Yakuza 4 on PS Plus, and the only
Yeah,
reason like you were getting Yakuza 5 at all is because a lot of like I guess enough people downloaded Yakuza 4 on PS Plus for them to go, okay, maybe we can actually do bring Yakuza 5 over because it's a pretty big series and it's like the games are pretty expensive, so I assume they want to try to sell them as many people as possible.
yeah.
So, really small news. Nvidia, if you bought an Nvidia graphics card, basically in the past few months, it came with a copy of Arkham Knight for PC. And we talked about our last not our last episode, a few episodes back, the Arkham
Like
Knight
10
PS
episodes
PC.
ago.
Yeah. Basically the PC version of Batman is just straight up broken. Maybe it's gotten fixed by now. I really don't know. I doubt it. I feel like there would have been a new story if it had been fixed.
Yeah.
So now instead of you will still get Batman, but now they'll also give you Metal Gear Solid 5, which is pretty damn cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good way to kind of go like, hey, you guys bought this on this promise. It wasn't us that
Hmm.
didn't live up to it, but, it's just cool customer service.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat. I was just surprised it was like a new game.
Oh, instead of like, we'll give you Arkham City.
Yeah, or something. Like a bunch of older games or something. But no, it's like no, we're gonna give you like a brand new game that's coming out and you'll get it like day one. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Uh, Speaking of games that you'll get for free day one, haha. So PS Plus was announced. No, the PS Plus games were announced for next month.
Yep.
So I'll just name them real quick. So for PS4, you get Grown Home, you get Super Time Force Ultra, you get a game this one I actually haven't heard of, Zeo Drifter, and you get Tesla Grad. Zeo Drifter is also for Vita. Tesla Grad's also for PS3. In addition to that, you'll also get Twisted Metal for PS3 and La Mulana EX for Vita. This is honestly like one of the best months that I've seen.
Okay, tell me why, because I recognize 3 of these games.
Okay, yeah, no, exactly. I think this is one of those ones where like people like I think a lot of people are like this month sucks because they just haven't heard of these games. Okay, so Grow Home, you actually do like Grow Home. I know that we've been both
Yeah,
kind of
I think we're
excited for
both
that.
very curious in Grow Home, and that was the one that won the voting thing that we talked about. I remember if we talked about it last episode or the episode before, but it won all the
Yeah,
votes like we pretty much everybody knew it would.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's an Ubisoft game that only came out on PC and it looked awesome. I don't even really know what that game is now that I think about it. I know that you climb and you jump and there's plants that grow high and
And it
that's
looks
about
pretty.
yeah. That's all we know about Grow Home. I mean, that's the one that everybody's kind of excited about. Okay, Super Time Force Ultra is a game that has not been released on PS4. Okay, yeah, Grow Home. This is its PS4 debut. So like the day it releases, you'll get it on PS Plus. Super Time Force Ultra is the same thing. This game came out on Xbox, I believe, and this is a 2D platformer, and every time you die, you respawn as another character, and then your kind of ghost from the last time you died still plays through. So if you die 5 times, you'll have 5 characters on the screen all shooting with you.
So is it like Rogue Legacy where it's a annoying thing?
Um, it's not randomized if that helps.
But is it like you die and you have to start all the way back over at the beginning?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think there's a checkpoint system, but the thing is, like every time you die, oh, when I say you start as a new person, like the old person still fights with you.
Oh, so like a co-op partner, like a squad mate type thing?
Like you basically create your own co-op. So like, okay, well here's an idea. Okay, let's say I run forward, I shoot a guy, I jump over, shoot another guy, and then I die. So I'll respawn, but that character I had just played as will do that. Like the AI will take over. Like it records my gameplay footage.
Oh, that's super awesome.
Yes, but the thing is, like, so that kind of concept they do. But like, let's say you die 5 or 6 times, so you have like 5 or 6
It just starts
characters.
piling up. That's really, 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 really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat concept, and although they're also having some exclusive characters. This we actually talked about this one time. They're gonna have like the Journey character. They're gonna have the Shu from from the guy who like runs PlayStation basically, and they're also gonna have one of the Order characters.
Oh, we totally did talk about this.
We
That's why
did
that game
totally talk.
sounds familiar.
Yeah. Oh god, this PS Plus news is basically Doug explains these games to Brett.
Hey, I know Grow Home and Twisted Metal.
Okay, Twist Metal PS3 is oh man,
I'm excited. I love Twisted Metal, and I never touched this. Mostly because
Twisted
I heard it
Metal
was
PS3
okay.
is a very very different Twisted Metal. Actually, I didn't like it. This is gonna sound very not hardcore of me. I thought it was too fast. I think that I mean I played a lot of Twist Metal Black. I beat Twist Metal Black with, like every character on the hardest difficulty, so I really like these games. But Twist Metal PS3 is so freaking fast. It's basically Twist Metal super sped up, and I didn't really like that. So the main base gameplay I wasn't a huge fan of. Black is still probably my favorite gameplay wise. But this is the coolest Twisted Metal universe of all the Twisted Metals. It's basically Twisted Metal like finally it's like finally a really good mix between like the hardcore gruesomeness of Twist Metal Black and the super goofiness of the earlier games, and it's kind of in between that, and it's
Oh,
sort of
that's
like
really cool.
heavy. Yeah, you know what it reminds me of a lot is actually is a Brutal Legend. Um,
I love Brutal Legend.
okay, well it's not funny per se, but it's like huge cars like gigantic like engines with like these like flames shooting out of them and like just like what's that Dragula and it's like all like death metal music and stuff. It's so good. I don't know. That's kind of a weird one. I kind of excited for you to play so we can talk about that one later. Zero Drifter I actually don't know anything about.
Yeah, I've never heard that one either.
Yeah, it looks like a 2D platformer. It looks like an indie 2D
Yeah,
platformer, which can either be
all of these looked like, other than Grow Home and Twisted Metal, they were all just 2D platformers with the retro look, which bothered me a little bit because it's like I'm fine with those games, but give me some kind of variety. Like I don't want the same game 4 times.
yeah, okay. The thing with like 2D platformers by indie devs is either they're awesome or they're really average. I
Yeah.
haven't really played a bad one. They're just kind of average. Zero Drifter, so I don't really know anything about that. Tesla Grad actually bought recently, so I'm kind of finally got screwed
Ha
on that.
ha.
Yeah, that was the first time. It's kind of a neat game. Oh god, how do I describe this game? So the 2D platformer, that's the best way to start. It's a 2D, and the Tesla Grad, the sort of universe is that it's set in like basically this like communist era Stalingrad, but you play as like a Tesla. You play kind of, I think you play as Tesla, but it's basically like communist era Russia with science. So it's kind of cool. It's a puzzle. It's more of a puzzle game than it is a
Actiony thing.
yeah. Okay, so La Mulana is actually probably one of the best games on this list, and I haven't played it, but it's basically like
Wait, wait. You just said it's one of the best games and you've never played it.
Well, yeah, I've just heard about it enough. I've heard about it enough that it's like that people have like, oh god, this game is amazing. So La Mulana is basically like a super hardcore action platformer with really intense puzzles. That's apparently like impossible to finish without a guide. And
Well, you just made sure I never touched that.
yeah, well, I don't know, for free though, maybe, maybe.
Yeah, but the fact that it's things I dislike,
Well, it's
no.
actually, the game that actually took a lot of inspiration from it was Splunker, whatever that game was. The game that neither of us liked, that everybody seems to love.
Oh yeah, I don't like that game.
Yeah, but it's that, but not randomly generated, and actually has puzzles.
Yeah, but I don't like puzzles either.
So Brad might not have a good time with this game. I don't. I think it'll be very interesting. At the very least, I think it'll be really interesting when we talk about games we played because I think a lot because we really haven't played like most of these games.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It's always cool to try them out, even if it's something that I know I'm not gonna like,
Hmm.
or not. No, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like. That sounds really negative. Something I don't really seem that interested in.
Yeah. That's what I kind of like about PS Plus is like there's just games like a lot of people just have never heard of. Like, well, I might as well try it just to see what it is. And it's not like they ever would have bought it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. The only one of the only two of these I would have ever considered buying was Grow Home and Twisted Metal. So
Yeah,
hey, I get to check out the other ones for the heck of it.
yeah. Hopefully, Twist Metal have like it actually is a pretty big online, so I'm kind of curious to see how that'll go.
Yeah, I've never really tried a PS Plus game online. I wonder if like the community kind of comes back for a minute just because there's so many new people with it, or if it just is completely dead still.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it's gonna have like a Rocket League surge, but I mean, there's gonna be more than zero people playing online, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I guess that kind of wraps up our episode. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Darksliders_POD. You can also find us on YouTube where you can subscribe. You can also find us on iTunes. Our SoundCloud, for whatever reason, is getting a lot of hits recently. And we apologize if you were trying to listen for Everybody's Gone to the Rapture music and you had suddenly hit our podcast
But
review
welcome
thinking
and
that
thank you for listening to this hour.
yeah. I just gotta imagine like almost all of our SoundCloud hits were just from people like, what the hell is this? This is not the music. But that does prove that the music in Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is really good. So we're here every week. I guess we'll see you next week.
Bye.